And we are back a little later than usual, but we are still back. A podcast about movies. Myself, Austin Pez Howell. Austin, how are you doing?
Oh man, it's been a long week of work and a lot of late night shows. Yeah, it's been a movie hero network after dark kind of a week, and we're continuing the trend because we had a late night tier ranker last night. Me and Henry Confidential had a really late Let's Rank stuff the other night. So yeah, it's been a week of late night shows, but it's all good. We're having fun.
Yes, fun is the key word there. It's always fun,
hmm
and it's fun doing this show with you because we always. I feel like we always come up with interesting topics, and we like to keep it positive here, and
hmm
that's even more fun. Let's not talk negatively about movies because we
Yeah, I
don't
mean,
love
we
them.
might do
That's why
one
we're
on
here.
occasion. We might do one in the future on occasion, but
Yeah,
we try to keep it more like recommendation or positive or hypotheticals or just fun, light breezy stuff, So
right.
and give you something to think about. So that's what we'd like to do.
Yeah. And apparently, we just really like sequels.
Well, I think it's almost been like sequel month here on a podcast about
Yeah,
movies because we talked about underrated sequels we liked, and we've talked about sequels here and there for whatever reason, and yeah, this one's more of a hypothetical, wishful thinking kind of a thing. Yeah, movies. We're talking about movies that never got a sequel, or there's not really one on the horizon, and we'd like to see one at some point, or if we had our way, if we had a big studio, these are the monies
yeah,
I throw. I throw some sequel money at this one or some kind of idea or something like that. So movies that never got one, and it was a little trickier than I thought it was, Jake, because I started, I've got my movies all lined up on the wall, right? So I can literally
mhm,
just go along the wall and be like, but then like. There's a lot of movies that when I thought of it, I was like, oh yeah, that movie did have a sequel and it wasn't very good, or
yeah,
there's certain ones that even have like direct to DVD technical sequels. So like it's like I
mhm,
can't use that one because we can't. It's not an episode about I wish there was a better Jaws sequel. Like there is a Jaws sequel. There's several Jaws
right,
sequels. So like they exist. Like I can't help that. Even stuff
yeah,
like anybody remember American Psycho 2 with Mila Kunis? I mean, like it's there's things that exist whether we like it or not. So those are disqualified,
yep,
regardless of how much they actually relate to the original. But we tried to come up with ones that, and I'm sure you did the same, that literally do not have a sequel like at all. So and ones that we'd like to see or would have liked to have seen at the time. So that's what we're doing.
yeah. And I misspoke to you off air. I have 11 choices with an honorable mention. So I guess we each have the same amount of
Mm-hmm.
picks. Um, why don't I just go ahead and kick it off with the honorable mention because like I said off air, this is
Okay.
a 2021 movie, so it's
Mm.
fresh and it could get a sequel. And maybe you'll agree with me. That's the movie Nobody. I
Mm.
really hope Nobody
Gotcha.
gets a sequel. I think the way they ended it, they definitely left it open. I think Bob Odenkirk in this movie was great. It was a surprise for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then who knew that Christopher Lloyd and RZA would be a pairing that I want to see more of. But they
Gotcha.
kind of the way they ended, the way they ended, it looks like there could be plans for a sequel, and I really hope that those plans come to fruition. I know the movie wasn't exactly like a major box office hit, but like it made a decent amount based off the budget. I think it was like 58 million off of a $16 million budget.
That's
So
pretty
that's
solid. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. It's just one
oh,
I've
okay.
I've been meaning to get around to. It's on HBO Max now. It popped up, so I definitely want to watch it. Because I've heard good things as far as like even amongst the recent trend of the older unconventional actor becoming like the action badass, that we've seen a lot, with like
Mhm.
obviously the Liam Neeson movies or Denzel with The Equalizer or yeah, Bob Odenkirk with this or what was it like Peppermint with like Jennifer
Jennifer
Gardner and all
Garner,
these
yeah,
different movies. Yeah, all these different movies where it's like the unconventional actor or actress, doing kind of like the badass role. But yeah, I heard that was one of the better ones. So I've been meaning to see it. I just
okay,
haven't watched it. But I heard good things, and the people who saw it seemed to really like it. So it's kind of garnered kind of a cult following. So yeah, I mean, I'd be with you on that. Sure, why not?
yeah, yeah. I loved it. I didn't expect that movie to make my top 10 for 2021, but it's up there. I really enjoyed it. I think you'll enjoy it too. It's a nice easy watch too. It's like 90 minutes or something like that. It's
Mm,
hovering around that 90-minute mark. It's a
hmm
quick watch. I think it's right up your alley. I think you'll absolutely enjoy
Sweet.
it. So Yeah. You'll have to let me know what you think when you finally get around to it. So that's my first pick. What's your
Well,
first pick? What movie?
just because it's more recent that
Right.
it's up in the air. It could get a sequel,
Yes.
realistically. But yeah, the ones we're talking about tonight are more like either it's like, all right, come on, check my watch. Like, why haven't you guys done one already? Or maybe it was years ago and we were just like, man, they should have done a sequel, at some point and it just didn't happen, or whatever the case may be. So so we're just gonna bounce back and forth and just rattle them off here. See, we'll even see if we have any crossovers. Who knows? Maybe we do. We haven't shared each other's lists yet, so we don't know. But my number one with a bullet, and it has been for literally the last 10 years now. I can't believe this movie is 10 years old. Has been Dredd. I think Dredd. Anybody who's seen it pretty much loves this movie. There's been chatter, not so much about a sequel because the movie actually did not do very well at the box office. I saw it in the theater, but I don't know what happened there. I think people either had, lingering bad after effects from the Stallone version, or it just wasn't marketed very heavily, or people didn't know what to think of it because it was like a rated R crazy movie. I don't know, whatever it was, it didn't make a lot of money. I think it might have broken even, but that's about it. But it didn't set the box office on fire. The closest thing we've had to talks of a sequel for the last 4 or 5 years has been a possible television series called Mega City 1, centering around the judges in the big city, in the kind of the dystopian city that they run. And there's always been talks about Carl Urban and Olivia Thirlby, coming back to partner up. It's just kind of following their adventures from week to week. In Mega City 1. Crimes, so which, I mean, there's a lot of potential there because that city is crazy, and there's a ton of comic storylines you could do. But yeah, that's the closest we got to any sort of sequel-ish talk, But yeah, I mean, if we didn't get that, I just wish we could have got a full-on sequel. I know it's been 10 years, so hope has been dying. People literally do Dread Days every year, where it's like the fans of this movie, I still get emails about it from a long time ago, where people will rent it on digital all on the same day, or buy a copy online, or whatever the case is, and support the movie to try to make a statement. Or if it's on a streaming service, I'll stream it the same day, something like that. And even then, it just hasn't come about. So, Dread's always been one. I think that movie's great, and there's way more to explore both with that character and the city.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna bring this up, and I was like, I gotta watch it this week. And then for whatever reason, I just didn't have time to watch it this week.
Yeah.
But it's one I have it on my shelf. I am looking at the case
on
right now, and sooner rather than later, I will be watching that movie. I think you've spoken highly of it. Everyone speaks highly of this movie who's seen it. I've never heard a bad thing about it, so I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah.
And who knows? I will probably agree with you after I watch it.
Yeah, no, it's a total banger from start to finish. Carl Urban is great, and it's very true to the comics as far as he doesn't take his helmet off. He keeps it on the whole time. The closest thing we see is like him putting it on in like a locker room from the back, but we never see his face, which is how it is in the comics. He never takes his helmet off, which is the Stallone one was terrible because he has it on for the opening action scene, and then as soon as he gets back to the headquarters, he takes it right off, and he's Stallone the rest of the movie. Like it just totally killed anything from the comics, and people just just like, come on, like but it's a great movie. And I wish they would have done something with it. Carl Urban, don't get me wrong, I'm happy he's on The Boys, a very popular show, doing very well, and he's done very well for himself in the Star Trek movies and stuff, but even he has said he would love to play the character again. It's just getting support for it is just a little difficult. Yeah.
All right, that's a solid choice. My first one that I'm going to go with is I kind of took some liberties with this because we said movies that deserve a sequel, and technically sequels are also movies. So a couple of mine are actually like considered sequels. Well, one of them is definitely considered a sequel. One of them is hovering, like it's iffy. It's part of a franchise, but it's not a sequel.
Okay.
But the first one, I really hope that at some point, because this one is a fairly recent movie, so it could still happen. We got 3 Cars movies. We got 4 Toy Story movies. I really hope that we can get an Incredibles 3.
Okay. No, I mean a third one counts. I have a third installment in one
Okay,
of my
okay,
picks, so that counts.
okay. So
One that hasn't been revisited. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. Yeah, Incredibles 3. Why not? Yeah, it's a franchise people like.
we've
Yeah.
had the first one focused on the dad, the
Hmm.
second one centered around the mom.
Why not
Why
Jack
not
Jack?
Jack or the kid or the other two kids, Dash and Violet?
Hmm. Right.
Why not go that route? I mean, this is an animated franchise that appeals to both kids and adults, so why not center this one about the kids? Give them something because focusing on adult superheroes um, is good, but I think you can really hit that kid demographic if you focus on Dash and Violet, and I think I don't necessarily think you need to change like the tones of the movies at all. It can be the same
Hmm.
tone, kind of the same thing, but focus it on them and kind of because I don't know about you, but I think Jack is absolutely the standout from Incredibles 2. I think he was
Right.
just so much fun. So seeing more of that would be fun. I know there's shorts out there, but
Hmm.
seeing more of that in a theater on the big screen would be fun. I think there's so many ways you could go with this, just
I have a pitch
in a
right off the
school
top of my
setting.
head
Go
because
for
I
it.
didn't even know you were going to bring it. So, if I was to pitch something right now, I would do a time jump because the other one took place pretty close to the original. I would
Right
do a
after,
time
yeah.
jump. Let's jump maybe 10 years or so,
Okay.
and let's jump a little bit. Let's have Violet and Dash be kind of either late teens or even have them in college or something, like grow like a little
Mhm.
bit more grown up. Maybe they move out of the house. Maybe Dash, because he's always been a little roguish, maybe plays around with his powers, does a little vigilante on the side, or tries to
Ooh.
gets himself into a little trouble, or tries to go up, oh, I see something happen, I can take care of it, whatever. Violet's more the shy one. Maybe somebody takes advantage of the fact that they're split, maybe kidnaps some people, whatever, and the family has to sort of reunite to take down some threat, or they parents have to go after the kids or whatever, something like that.
Hmm.
And maybe Jack is the wild card. Maybe he's like 10 years old now. He's hitting puberty or something and maybe discovering even more powers that he has, not even originally. Maybe he's getting more and more and more powers that are being discovered, and he sort of has to grow up very quickly because maybe his parents get in trouble too trying to save the kids, and Jack has to save the day, and kind of grow up quickly. So that would be like
Hmm.
my couch pitch, quickly, something like that, just to get
I
again the whole family involved, and you can have one big
Yeah.
climactic thing at the end where they're finally fighting together. But maybe have them struggling, and Jack has to kind of step up, grow up quickly, and save the day. So that would be my thing.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I think
Mm-hmm.
they've established these characters so well
Mm-hmm.
that we could definitely make a time jump and people will still like want to see like, oh, what have they been up to? What are they doing now?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but if they do set it in, kind of like in Incredibles 2, where I don't know, like necessarily, hey, this is where the first one ended and the second one's going to pick up
Mm-hmm.
right there. I don't think we need to do that, but a middle school, high school type of thing would be good too. But I
Mm-hmm.
definitely love that pitch. I think there's so much that they can explore.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm never against the idea of a spin-off with Frozone. I'm never against that
Mm-hmm.
idea. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's a franchise that can go many ways. I think they've knocked it out of the park both times. The Incredibles is definitely much higher for me personally than the second one. I think that's true for a lot of people. Um, it's actually my favorite Pixar movie is The Incredibles.
Yeah. Right.
So, um, I, I felt so out of place seeing The Incredibles 2 like opening weekend in the theater.
Right.
It was
And
just
you're like one of
me.
the older people in there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was just me, and there's like a row. The row is filled with families on this side, families on this
Mm-hmm.
side, and I'm there with my girlfriend at the time in the middle. And we got there late too, so we're like at the very top, and there were like two seats
Mm-hmm.
right in the middle that nobody wanted to sit in.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
um, but it was fun, and yeah, Incredibles 2 will be my first choice. I think again, just so much to explore and so much that they
Mm-hmm.
can go to.
Yeah. All right, cool. Sounds good. I figured you'd bring up some animated stuff, so I didn't pick anything animated.
I have a
So
I have a couple
a
more.
couple, right? Yeah, yeah. So I figure I'd leave those up to you. But I thought about a few of them. But my next one is one that's again been toyed around every couple of years. There's like chatter about it. People do interviews and say things. It just never goes anywhere. I think we're long overdue for another Beetlejuice movie, especially with the resurgence of Michael Keaton lately with all the MCU stuff and even around the time of Spotlight and that there was chatter about one. I want to say 3 or 4 years ago. I remember him doing TMZ little interviews where he was like, "Oh yeah, me and Tim are going to do it. There's a script and we got to do it. Yeah, we're going to do it. Like for real." That was like 4 or 5 years ago. So and nothing's happened. And it's like it's not so much that hasn't been toyed around about like Hawaiian Beetlejuice and all these weird things. Just do a thing where he's and here's the cool thing about it. Michael Keaton's what? He's almost 70 now or something like that. But like the character is dead. So, like, and with all his dead makeup, it doesn't matter how old Michael Keaton is. You put him in that makeup, he'd look exactly the same. So, as the character, because the character is a decrepit, corpse anyways, so it doesn't matter that he's 70 and he's still a great actor. Obviously, he's still got a ton of energy. He's great. So I don't mean that in a bad way. He's literally about to play Batman again, and I'm excited for that.
Right.
So, I'm cool with that. But yeah, like, I just think there's more to explore as far as the world that the afterlife they set up with all the corporate stuff. It's like the waiting rooms and like the structure of the things and the dimensions that he like tools around in. And I just think he could like there's so much more of that world to explore, and then he could easily just interact with really anybody else or have some other kind of adventure. You could even bring back Winona Ryder or somebody like that. What I mean? Maybe not so much Alec Baldwin, but like but you can bring back Winona Ryder or Gina Davis or any of those people hanging around or whoever. And I think it'd be a lot of fun. They set up such a cool world that I just want to explore more of that. You know what I mean? So you don't have to do a retread, but I think there's plenty of stuff to go there. So I think I just wish they would pull the trigger on it already and just do something with it and have Tim Burton just come back and do it. Because that was what I loved, was like early Tim Burton, 80s, 90s Tim Burton, and if he just did something in this same vein as the original movie, I think it could be money. So yeah, I'd be down for that.
I'm definitely on board. I love Tim Burton. I think he is a pretty good director. I'm not going to say great because he's definitely
he's had his downs. He's had his ups and downs. Yeah.
But I think with Burton, the highs are highs. Beetlejuice, Batman, Batman Returns. Personal favorite of mine, as is Sweeney Todd. Big Fish. Like, well, there's quite a few.
I love like Ed Wood and Mars Attacks. There's like two great ones that I love. Pee-wee's Big Adventure is still great. Like he's done a lot of great stuff. It's just like, but I mean, if he went old school with it, and just and that, he loves those designs and stuff. I just like him to go old school, do another sort of crazy pseudo horror movie, set in that world. I just want to see him go back to it. And Michael Keaton's hotter than ever right now. I say go for it. Let's get it done already.
Yeah, and I wasn't as high on the Dumbo remake. I know some people enjoyed it, but I think the best part of that movie was Michael Keaton. I think those two work really well together. I think they showed that with Beetlejuice and with the Batman movies. And I'm looking it up right now to make sure I'm not sounding stupid. I'm pretty sure it was Michael Keaton in this movie.
Yeah. Well, just to me,
yes,
there's a whole new generation of people now, even newer fans, who know him as the Vulture, or are going to see him play Batman again and maybe go back and rediscover Batman '89, because of that or whatever. And of course, the older fans know who he is. But I'm just saying the MCU, has helped, kind of again reinvigorate him as far as for mainstream audiences. I mean, he's always been around doing stuff like Spotlight or what have you. But I say you just capitalize on that. Beetlejuice came out on 4K like last year, so it's out there and it's a great transfer and all that kind of stuff. So I just like, if you're going to jump on it, man, jump while the iron is hot and just get it going.
Right.
Just do it. So yeah, why not?
Yeah, I'm on board for a Beetlejuice 2. All right,
you could call it Beetlejuice Lives. Why not?
Yeah.
Because he's dead. You could call him Beetlejuice Lives. Maybe he, becomes alive again or something. I don't know. Anything. Like, who knows? You could play around with it.
I'm gonna get this pick out of the way. because it's not necessarily going to be a sequel, but I like the concept, and we've talked about it recently. They've done a baseball movie like this with Moneyball. They've done Draft Day. I want to see something in that vein. So, like, not necessarily a sequel, but I couldn't think of a better time to talk about it. We're doing sequels. Why not a spin-off? Sort of thing. I would love to see like a Draft Day type movie set in the NBA.
Okay.
Like, I think they hit it so well, and you actually talking highly of it, like
Of Draft Day,
of Draft Day is making me want to
Yeah.
revisit it. And well, it's not necessarily a sequel, and I feel like I'm just using that term very, very loosely here.
This is more like a pitch of a movie you just want to see, of like, you know, something. So it's like, do my sport already. You've done the two other sports.
It's
mine.
It's the same concept.
Yeah.
But in basketball form, I think you can take the same concept, use the same directors, use the same writers, get them back on board, because I think they did knock it out of the park. I'm high on it. Like, when we did our tier ranker, I put it in the A tier, and you had it in the S tier, and I was like, all right, well, I need to go back and revisit this. And when I think more I think about it, like, sort of like all the personal life stuff is good. But when they get into that behind the scenes of like the draft stuff, and especially when they're in the war room and he's on the phone with all the other teams, like, that is good stuff. Like,
I'll tell you what,
writing.
Why not tie it into a movie? Jerry Maguire 2 with Tom Cruise being a draft guy now, like, instead of just a straight sports agent, being like a manager of a team. Maybe he graduated. And you tie it into a real character in an older movie, and Tom Cruise is still hot right now, so he instead of an agent, he's a manager or whatever, you know, a backstage guy for you know, if he's out in LA, you know, for the Lakers or something, you know what I mean, the Clippers or whatever, you know what I mean, like, and have something, but make it sort of like a Draft Day type thing, you know, like, you could do it if you want to tie it into an actual movie. That'd be the closest thing I could think of. So I don't know. Why not?
Yeah, I will tell you why I didn't think of that. I've never seen Jerry Maguire.
Okay. Yeah. Well, in that one, he's a football. He's an agent for Cuba, who's a football player. But yeah, like, who's to say you couldn't switch sports? I mean, people do it all the time. You know, whatever. It's just, you know, whatever the opportunity is.
My new pick is now Jerry Maguire too.
Yeah, sure. There you
go. with Draft Day isms.
Yeah, sure. All right. No, that's fine. Hey, I'm down. I'd watch it. I mean, the other two have been good. I like Moneyball and I like Draft Day. Why not basketball? Sure. I mean, it's like, I didn't care really. You know, I've gone off the sports train a long time ago, but like, I still love. I didn't think I was going to love Draft Day as much as I did, because I don't watch the draft, like the actual NFL draft. I don't care. I don't watch it. But like, it's a super exciting movie, and it almost fits into we should have included it. It's a One Crazy Day movie, because it's all in one day, which I should have included it, because technically it is, and it is one crazy day, because he's bouncing all over the place. He's on the phone constantly. He's running from location to location. You know, he's all over the place. So it kind of was, but yeah, like, I don't see why not. Sure.
All right, what do you got next?
All right, so mine is a sequel to a comic book movie. I have a couple of comic book, only about 2 comic book actually. Well, Dread is technically, so that's 3, but it's one that I would capitalize on the popularity of this actor right now and go back to a role in a movie that is kind of become a cult classic. I'd like to see a Keanu Reeves Constantine sequel.
Okay.
And, you know, I'd like to see him go back and play the character again. Now, I know that Matt Ryan has voiced him and did the live action CW series for like a season, and I think it was canceled. You know, that was a little more comic accurate as far as him being like British, you know. But to me, it's like, I would just like to see a sequel, because again, it's one of those crazy worlds that there's so much to explore as far as the supernatural, religious type stuff, you know, in that movie, and demons and all kinds of crazy things. And like, Keanu is again mega hot, you know, even hotter than he was, you know, back then, with all the John Wick stuff and everything. So why not, like, let him revisit Constantine? I think he's even said he really likes that movie and he wouldn't mind doing it. I've heard him in a couple of interviews say he wouldn't mind going back to the character. You could change his look a little bit, why not, you know, and just have him, just do Constantine again, because technically Peter Stormare's Satan pulled the lung cancer out of his lungs at the end of that movie and let him live longer, even though he was terminal in that movie, in order to keep him alive longer. So he would still be alive. He could face some new threat, whatever. But yeah, I'd like to see Keanu reprise the role again and do a straight up sequel. Why not?
Yeah, again, this is one that I've heard people talk highly of, and for the longest time it was on HBO Max, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna get around to it. And one day I was like, all right, oh, you know what, I'm kind of feeling a Keanu movie. Let's throw Constantine on. No longer on HBO Max.
Oh, that's too bad.
So and it's only available for rent now. So sadly, another one that I have not seen. But that one that I want to. And yeah, I think I remember reading somewhere about Keanu wanting to revisit the role, because and if the actor's on board and you can get other people on board, I say go for it.
Yeah.
When you said comic book movie, I thought this might be, we're gonna have a crossover here, because while yes, BVS could be considered a sequel to Man of Steel, and it is. Yeah. I want a standalone Man of Steel 2.
Yeah. No, and unfortunately, I don't think it's going to happen at this point, because they're talking about retooling the DC stuff yet again and just starting over from scratch, which is sad, So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, so with that, there's really not much to say on it, other than that's a movie I would have loved to have seen. I love Man of Steel. I think it is, up until the Suicide Squad and Zack Snyder's Justice League came out, it was my favorite in the DCEU, or whatever you want to, whatever it's called. It was my favorite, and now it's up there with those three. I have a hard time because I think they're all fantastic and they're all kind of different movies. But yeah, it's really good. Henry Cavill is great as Superman. Kevin Costner was fantastic. It's a shame you can't bring him back, and maybe you can bring him back in like flashbacks. Because I like him in this movie. Diane Lane, Amy Adams. I think everyone just gives really great performances, and I'm ready for. We get so much Batman. We're getting a lot of Spider-Man. I want more Superman now. I'm ready for more Superman.
I've always said, like, I would love to still see a live action, because they've never been able to do it. A live action version of Brainiac, and Man of Steel 2 would have been perfect for that. Because he's like he's a space entity that just goes around gathering up all this stuff from basically sucking planets dry, sucking up all their knowledge, but he's a Kryptonian at heart, and then just seeking out Superman. But yeah, I'd always love to see a live action version of Brainiac, and Man of Steel 2 would have been, a perfect opportunity if they ever did one. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't know if it's ever going to happen, just because of the circumstances right now. I'm hearing rumors, that they're going to reboot it all over again. And Henry Cavill will move on to other stuff, but I would have loved to have seen it too. I don't know why they never pulled the trigger on that. It's frustrating. But yeah, it's I'd like to see it too. I'm right there with you.
So Man of Steel 2 sadly will not happen. Why don't you give me a sequel that you think
all right
could happen?
So should happen. It should have happened a long time ago, because this movie was actually a big hit and a successful and nominated for Best Picture. I still don't know why we never got District 10 right after District 9. Okay. I mean, it had the ending where he kind of turned into one of the, the prawns, and it was, it again setting up this world where they're incorporated, like sort of immigrants, in South Africa and things like that. There's so much more you could explore with the politics of that, and maybe another race of them shows up, looking for him or something. I mean, who knows? You could go to a million different directions with it. I was really surprised this one never actually got a full-on sequel at the time, again, because of how well received it was, how well it did at the box office, the fact that it was nominated for Best Picture, which is nuts. And no, it's just like Neil Blomkamp just moved on to Elysium, which I get, he moved on to Elysium and Chappie, these other projects, but he hasn't even done anything since then. So I'm like, kind of like, where's Neil Blomkamp? I'd really like to see another movie from him. You know, I know people are a little cooler on stuff like Chappie, but I think he's a really interesting filmmaker, and I think he sets up really cool worlds, and he's definitely got a mind for science fiction. So I know there was talks for a little while of him doing a follow-up to Aliens and scratching all the other ones, but that's just not going to happen with Ridley Scott not giving up, sort of the rights to it. But I'd like to see him do something, and I hope if he does, District 10 would be maybe on the table. So yeah, I think people would like to see it.
All right. Well, we are 3 for 3 on you choosing movies that I have not seen. I swear I watch movies. We just watched movies. I swear I watched them.
I'm only pumping them up so you put them even higher on your list to watch casually. You know what I mean? So you know what I mean? I'm pumping up movies that hopefully it'll put a little pep in your step to get to them sooner rather than later. You know what I mean? So we'll see. Yeah. Well, it's on, and District 9 is on Amazon Prime, so
there we go. All right. A little easier than Constantine right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you can get a Blu-ray or DVD of Constantine for like $10, and I'm pretty sure I see it on sale all the time for like $10 on Vudu and stuff. It's worth it. You know what I mean? It's worth it. It's a cool movie. I like it a lot. So,
all right. So, the next movie I'm going to choose. Again, it's kind of blurring the lines of a sequel. I think you can call this one a sequel, though. Mm-hmm. I love like musical biopics. I think they're great. I would love to see a follow-up to Straight Outta Compton that focuses on
Ice Cube,
Snoop Dogg, and Dr. Dre.
Oh, okay.
Kind of their relationship and how
I wouldn't mind seeing a West Coast East Coast movie and just bring back some of that cast, like have a West Coast East Coast thing, and you could even bring in sort of like how All Eyes on Me brought back the guy who played Biggie in Notorious. He brought him in for like a cameo, like the same actor, because obviously he looks just like him.
Yeah.
And that dude looked like Tupac. Like, I would like to see a whole big crossover with all that and go into like that whole feud. Like and what happened, you know what I mean? Like maybe just a timepiece, like before Tupac was shot, before Biggie was shot, and like the whole West Coast East Coast thing and all that feuds and stuff, and like you could even go into even that stuff, just like all that whole scene and bring in some of the other rappers that were around at that time. That'd be kind of cool. You could call it West versus East or something like that,
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I like that. I also, as I just stated, like the idea of exploring, kind of we kind of see the beginnings of Dre and Snoop, but just kind of going deeper into that because they collaborated a lot, and I would love to like go deeper into that. I think it would be a good story, and like they just did the Super Bowl halftime show, so I mean they're kind of still. Yeah. Relevant. I don't know. I mean, obviously, you're not going to make a movie that quick. I mean, you got to write a script, you got to do all that good stuff. But I think they'll always be relevant. It could even go like that one could even. I know we've had 8 Mile, but that one could even go into like him discovering Eminem.
Right. Yeah.
You can start the shady aftermath universe.
Yeah, why not? hey, why not? And cast people that to make cameos and have all that stuff, and you can even have O'Shea Jackson come back and make an Ice Cube cameo for a scene. You know what I mean? Like, why not? Just explore more of. I get what you're saying. Explore more of that that story, and maybe with some of the same cast members and stuff. Yeah, I'd be down for that. Sure.
Yeah, I'm always like I don't, even if it's not a band or artist that I'm super familiar with, I'm always interested to learn more about them. Like with the upcoming Elvis biopic, I don't know much about Elvis. I know he was very big. Have I listened to a lot of his music? No. Do I like know?
I'm a big Elvis fan. I just don't know about what Baz Luhrmann's going to do with it. It might be a really kooky, weird movie. Like, who knows? Weird acid trip. I don't know what he's going to do. I've heard there's like a rap number in that. I don't know, like some rap remix. Like, I've heard some weird things about it. I mean, I'll still go see it, but like, because I am an Elvis fan. Like, I'm big into, I've been to Graceland. Like, I owned a lot of the CDs, when I was a kid. Like, I am a big Elvis fan. And I know most of the story, but yeah, it's interesting. And again, I like that they're casting sort of an unknown with that, with the Austin Butler kid, like they're not getting like a super established person. They're just getting somebody who they thought was probably right for the part, which I always enjoy, instead of just so-and-so playing Elvis that doesn't really look like them or sound like them. It's just them playing him, but yeah, like, so yeah, we'll see. But yeah, that's a whole nother topic, but yeah, I get what you're saying as far as like, if that's your bag, yeah, more music biopics, sure.
I'm all for them.
So. All right, cool. Well, I'll go with one more comic book. Well, actually, technically, I have another one that's it's a comic strip movie. But anyways, but my next actual comic book movie, I promise there are not all comic movies. But it's just sad that we never got a follow. We had a movie that people have sort of tried to kind of tie to it, but like in an alternate universe sort of thing. My one that I was disappointed we never got a follow up to was the Thomas Jane Punisher from 2004.
Yes, I will agree with this
one. I was a really big fan of that movie, and I really liked Thomas Jane as the Punisher. Like, I thought he was an awesome Punisher, and I really liked that movie. People have sort of tried to adjacent like Punisher Warzone be like, oh, you could say that Ray Stevenson's kind of playing the same character, and he like moved to New York, where most of the comics are set, and like picked up Micro, Wayne Knight playing Micro in that movie because he's kind of still by himself and all. Yeah, I mean, you could pretend, but like we never actually got a real like Thomas Jane follow. The closest we got was, well, there's two things. There was that Dirty Laundry short that came out on YouTube where it was like he got into like this street fight thing with these guys and beat him up, and then he went to Ron Perlman, who was like running this laundromat, and like he sees his Punisher shirt like in the laundry, and it's sort of a follow-up to it. There was a thing, it was called Dirty Laundry, and then I have the PlayStation 2 Punisher video game that's based on that movie, and he does all the voiceover stuff for it. So it was kind of like this little follow-up, almost. But yeah, we never got a proper follow-up to that, and it's disappointing because I really liked that one. And when they did Punisher Warzone, and don't get me wrong, I enjoy Punisher Warzone like for a fun, entertaining movie, but I was disappointed it wasn't Thomas Jane, and we never got a proper follow-up to that.
Yeah, I'm on board with that. I really enjoyed that movie. I think Thomas Jane was a great Punisher, so I would definitely be on board to get more of that. But
I think it's past the time. It's literally been almost 20 years later, and it's just not going to happen. I mean, the last time I even saw Thomas Jane in a mainstream movie was that Predator movie, and it was like he's much older now. Which again, you can do an older Punisher, but still, I don't think that's ever going to happen. And it would be a little confusing at this point. But yeah, we've never really had like a great Punisher movie. Like, we've had like the TV shows were good, like the John Bernthal stuff is great, but like as far as like a critically like awesome, like I enjoy all three Punisher movies, including the Dolph Lundgren one. I do enjoy them all for what they are, but it's like we've never had that like really great Punisher movie. Like, we've had the great series and stuff, but like never really had like a really good one. And I don't have much hope for, now that it's owned by Disney, technically, that we're ever going to get a really good, another great R-rated, gory, violent Punisher. So I don't think it's ever going to happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can kind of see what they do with Deadpool, and I mean, and maybe if they go R-rated and gory with that, maybe there's a sliver of hope for a gory R-rated Punisher. But not holding my breath, and we'll see what happens.
All right.
You know what? I will stick with the comic book theme right now, because while he has appeared in several movies in this franchise, I think we need. This is a personal choice because I love the character. I think we need an Incredible Hulk 2. Like, I know it's not Ed Norton, but I would love another standalone Incredible Hulk movie in the MCU. I think the perfect time to do it.
It's a rights thing. I'll go into it in a minute as to why we haven't gotten one. But yeah, go ahead. But yeah.
Yeah, and so that's why it's like I'm not like this needs to happen. But I think it'd be cool. Like, I personally would have loved to have seen like what he was up to before Ragnarok.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah,
we
we'll
hadn't
get
seen
the
him
we'll
in.
get the proper Planet Hulk storyline where he actually gets transported to the thing and becomes the Gladiator in the Planet Hulk thing, because they did an animated Planet Hulk movie, if you remember, when Marvel was cranked out a couple of animated movies back in like 2005, 2006, something like
Okay.
that. They had two Ultimate Avengers animated movies that I have on Blu-ray over there, and they had like a couple of those. They had like Hulk versus Wolverine. Do you remember this at all? And then a Planet Hulk
They
movie.
sound familiar, but I don't think I've seen them.
Okay, go look them up. They're actually a lot of fun. The Hulk versus Wolverine movie actually has Deadpool in it,
Oh,
as like a side character, in an animated version, and it's actually pretty bloody. And then there was a Planet Hulk animated movie. It was around the time when like all those animated straight to DVD movies were starting to come out, but obviously DC kind of took the monopoly on it and have kicked Marvel's ass as far as that goes, which is not saying anything. It's just true.
yes,
So
they have.
yeah, they have. So they own that market. But Marvel, for a little while, was doing some of them. Yeah, I have both the Ultimate Avengers ones, which are pretty good. Like, they're pretty fun, and that Hulk versus Wolverine thing is pretty good. It's a lot of. I know it's online somewhere, but I'll look it up in a minute. But yeah, the reason why we never got a proper Hulk sequel is because Universal still owns the distribution rights for the Incredible Hulk, as far as, because the Ed Norton movie was a Universal film, and it was technically tied into the MCU, obviously, but it was a Universal movie. So the deal that they have right now is they can use the Hulk character, but he has to be part of another movie. It can't just be a Hulk movie. So, so unfortunately, until they clean up those rights or get it back, which I don't know if they will, because Universal Islands of Adventure in Orlando still has an Incredible Hulk roller coaster and still has all this Marvel stuff, because again, they have these distribution rights for some of these characters in certain forms. So yeah, I don't think it'll ever happen. But yeah, I mean, I would have minded some kind of follow up, especially like I said, like a Planet Hulk in that time period would have been cool.
Yeah, I just looked at that Hulk versus Wolverine, and it's on Amazon Prime, but it is
Okay.
not currently. It is currently unavailable to watch in your location.
Okay. See, I have the physical DVD of it, which I think
That
you can still
sounds
find those
great.
DVDs. But it's actually pretty cool. The guy who voices Wolverine in that is the guy who, it's the same character, technically, and the same actor, Steve Bloom, who did him for Wolverine and the X-Men, if you remember that animated series. It's the same character, same voice, all that kind of stuff, and it's him going after Hulk in Canada. He gets like dropped out of a helicopter and he's going on the hunt, like he's in tracking mode, and he's tracking Banner, who's been like rampaging through the woods and is tracked to take him down, but then they get captured by Deadpool and some other people taking his lab, and they kind of have to team up to get out of there. So it's pretty cool for what it is.
I need to see this
Yeah,
now. Yes,
yeah, you
I'm going to be
you
looking
dig
for
it.
that. I'm going to be
Yeah.
looking for that for sure. So
So it's yeah, I you know, I and there was also a Hulk versus Thor movie, because there's a double feature DVD.
ooh.
You can get the DVD used for like 10, $12. I would say it's worth it if you were interested. Yeah, it's a double
All
feature
right.
thing. They're both pretty cool. So you would dig them.
I'll look into that when we're done.
Yeah, right. Anyways, so I'll go into a third installment. I actually have two third installments. I didn't realize the other one. My third installment is I just, to round out what would be a great trilogy. And I know these movies are notoriously difficult to make, as Joe Dante has stated, but a Gremlins 3 would be right up my alley. And I'm surprised they
Okay.
never did one. Because we had obviously the 84 movie, we had Gremlins 2, which I am a huge fan of, as any of you guys know me, know I love Gremlins 2, and how self-aware and cool it is. But I know for a fact that Dante has stated these movies are a nightmare to make with all the different puppetry. They're just an absolute nightmare to make, especially some of the stuff in Gremlins 2 where there's like 100 of them, all like running around, all these puppets. Like, it's crazy, but it's all practical, which is cool. But yeah, like I just would like to see one more go of Gremlins proper, like, and just round out a trilogy and make a third one. Bring back, Zach Galligan, and Phoebe Cates and stuff. They're still around and doing movies, and they're still acting. Why not? And the only thing that you wouldn't be able to bring back is Dick Miller. He passed away, in part of both those movies. But yeah, I don't really have a pitch for it. I don't know. I know Dante's tooled with it here and there, and said it's a possibility. But even he's like 80 years old now. he's getting up there in age. So I mean, but you could get another director and have him be a consultant or a producer or something. You could definitely do that.
Yeah,
and get a younger
for
director who's into it. But yeah, Gremlins 3. Why not? Let's make it a trilogy. Fine, once and for all. Why not?
Why not? I need to see the second one still. I've seen the first one a few
Wow.
times.
Okay.
Absolutely fantastic.
Gremlins 2 is so much fun, bro. It's so
add
much
it to the
fun.
list.
You have to. You have to see Gremlins 2. It's so much fun. It's like almost like a parody of the original, but like not like it's very self-aware. There's a lot of stuff where they make fun of their own rules. There's some great just satirical stuff in it that like still works today because it takes place in this smart building, with all this technology. And
Okay.
John Glover plays like this media mogul, Ted Turner type of guy who's just like one of these guys who like, he proudly puts out "It's a Wonderful Life" in color, on his network. It's a Wonderful Life in proper Technicolor, shit like that. Just like, stuff like that. Hey, Gremlins 2 is on HBO Max, Jacob. You got no excuses.
No excuses.
So do it. Yeah.
All right.
Watch it. I promise you will have a blast if you watch it. Okay. It's so much fun. So
it's going to be added to the list.
Mm-hmm. So I got almost all my movies are movies you haven't seen other than Punisher. So yeah.
All the movies that I have seen.
Beetlejuice. You've seen Beetlejuice, but yeah. But like, I got a lot of movies you haven't even seen the original ones, much less a potential sequel. So there you go. All right.
My next pick is going to be from director Bo Burnham. I think he did such a fantastic job with 8th Grade. And now, yes, it's been, a few years since that movie's come out. So I don't know if you could use the same actress, but I would love to see a follow-up and do like a 9th grade story. You could call it Freshman or something like that. I think 8th Grade was really well done. I think the script was good. I think it really captured what 8th grade can be like for teenagers. And I think Bo Burnham is such a great writer, just both in comedy and now in movies. And I think he could come up with a pretty good script for a freshman year type of movie. And again, you could focus it on the same character. I don't know if you use the same actress because it is a few years older. Like she was actually in 8th grade.
Yeah, she's 19 now, so she's technically would have been out of high school at this point. So, I mean, well, you could jump to 12th grade, like a senior year type thing, and she could pull that off. Maybe do a little jump and do a 12th grade, or just jump a little bit, senior year type thing, and maybe around graduation time or something. Yeah, I mean, just jump a little bit, and you could buy her as a senior.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think he captured what being a middle schooler is like, and I have confidence that he could capture what being
a high
schooler would.
Yeah, just jump to high school. Just jump to high school. Yeah, and do something similar. Just jump to high school. Sure, why not?
Yeah, I don't have a pitch. I really enjoyed the movie. I really enjoy Bo Burnham as an actor and as a writer, and now as a director. I was actually looking him up earlier. I didn't know that he was credited as the director for a Chris Rock special on Netflix.
Okay.
I'd like to see him jump into that like writer, director, actor sort of role. I think with Inside, and of course he's just working by himself on that special. But he did that so well. I think the writing in that, the jokes and the songs were all fantastic. That I'd like to see him in that role, like kind of like a Clint Eastwood type. Obviously not in westerns.
Yeah.
But I think he could be like that, and I think he could be successful at it. And who knows? Maybe he starts with a high school type, and he's a teacher or something. So 8th Grade is my next pick. I really enjoy it, and I hope we see. If it's not this, I hope it's just something. I hope we see another movie from him.
I think there's a good chance Bo Burnham will make another movie. Whether or not it'll be a follow up to this, maybe not. But I mean, I think there's a good chance of that. Sure. I mean, somebody will throw him $2 or $3 million to make just a little low budget, sort of movie. Why not? But yeah,
Of all the choices I have, I think this one is like the least likely.
yeah, right.
But
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It is what it is. But all right, yeah, mine is one from 2017, a movie that unfortunately just didn't perform as well at the box office as they kind of wanted it to, even though the movie was pretty good. And that's the rebooted Power Rangers film from 2017.
we have a
We crossed.
crossover.
Hey, there we go. So yeah, yeah, this is one that I wouldn't mind seeing more of. And because I mean, I'm a massive, you guys know I'm a massive Power Ranger fan, anyways, just in general. But I actually thought that movie was pretty cool. And again, but the problem is again, they're only Power Rangers for like a little bit of that movie. And I want to see a movie where they're Power Rangers for all of the movie, a full on Power Rangers. And even I could see them doing like a Lord Zed, like straight from the show, and do a new version of, they did Rita, like let's do a new version of Lord Zed, and bring in him like from the original show. Really, get into the universe. They teased a Tommy character at the end of that movie, but didn't show one. Green Ranger type thing. So like yeah, it's sort of retreading the original series, but obviously just in a big budget form. But yeah, I think it's ripe for a sequel. Unfortunately, it's been 5 years or whatever. And it didn't perform as well. I think it's unlikely. I think there's still a sliver of a chance out there, maybe.
I'm holding this much hope.
Yeah, I hold a little bit of hope. It's not too late, but I don't see it as very likely because I think they've even announced they're going to do like another reboot soon or something. I've heard chattering of like another just redo, which again, I don't want to see another redo where they spend the whole movie getting their powers. Like I want to see them get to it. Like let's be Power Rangers. Let's go kick ass. But
it's
yeah,
almost like a Spider-Man thing where we know how Spider-Man becomes Spider-Man.
Yeah.
We know how the Power Rangers become Power Rangers, so we don't need to focus an hour and 20 minutes of the movie on that.
Yeah, until we finally hit the Go Go Power Ranger song and they get into the Zords and start fighting. Like, let's get to it. You know what I mean? And like, because even in the original pilot, they're Power Rangers by the end of that first 30-minute pilot. I mean, they get teleported into the command center. They're given their powers. They have their first fight at the end of that first episode. That's 30 minutes. If they can do it in 30 minutes, on the TV show, come on, you can do it in 30 minutes in the movie. I think there's a way to do it. But yeah, cool. Hey, we crossed over. There you go. Power Rangers.
Yeah. And my only gripe with that movie is that I felt Elizabeth Banks was a little miscast.
Yeah, a little miscast, but I think you could do something cool. Again, if you switch characters and go to like a Lord Zed or something like that, like from the show, and get a really cool actor to kind of do that, I think you could switch gears a little bit and it'd be okay.
Yeah, I'm on board. I thought all the actors were great. I liked the camaraderie that they ended up getting. I just wanted to use that word, camaraderie. I like that they came from all sorts of different and how they came together. I think it was really cool. It took a while to get there, like you said. So it felt like they were definitely setting up for a sequel.
Oh yeah, you could tell they wanted to do one. I mean, they wouldn't have set up Tommy, if they didn't, because that's what everyone wanted to see. And they even had the cameos from Amy Jo Johnson and Jason David Frank in the climax, but which I wouldn't even mind seeing them as like mentor characters in the next one or just pop up again. Like why the hell not? But yeah, that's cool. Hey, crossed over on Power Rangers. There you go.
Yeah, when they teased the Green Ranger and Tommy, I was actually watching this. So I worked at a camp. I've told you this before. I worked at a camp, and it was actually a Friday night. So the camps go Tuesday through Friday, and then we have the weekends off. So Friday, we decided to watch a movie. And this was when I started really like collecting movies. So I bought this and decided to turn it on. And all like the counselors that decided to stay for the weekend decided to watch it with me. Like some of them don't leave until Saturday morning because we had camp at like 5 o'clock. Some of them didn't want to leave in the morning. So we turned this on. And it gets to that point, and I'm just like, yes. Thinking like this is what's going to be the next movie, and everyone's just looking at me like, why are you so excited about some dude's knees?
Because it's the freaking Green Ranger, bro.
Like, you guys don't even know. If you
Yeah.
knew, you would be just as excited as
Listen,
I
if
am.
you sat down when the original 5-part Green Ranger saga aired on television and we were all chewing our fingernails off because it was the most amazing thing ever, you would understand, okay? They were Green with Evil parts 1 through 5 was awesome. You don't understand, all right? Like, go watch that. I'm pretty sure Power Rangers is still on Netflix. Go watch it. Go watch parts 1 through 5, Green with Evil. It's great. Yeah.
All right, so I'll skip that one since we just now talked about it, and I'll go
You
to
can go
another
to
favorite.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go animated again, and I'm going to go Inside Out. I think
Okay.
Inside Out is a good choice for a sequel, and it could still happen. I mean, we were 14 years between Incredibles and Incredibles 2, so it could happen. I think they just set up something so cool and so unique, like exploring your emotions. And it started with an elementary age Riley, so why not go to that next step and go to a teenage Riley, and or
A
even
rebellious teenager,
rebellious,
or
or you could go to you do a female. Why not visit the male side of things and just kind of their emotions? I think whatever route they go, I think they can succeed. I think they absolutely knocked it out of the park with Inside Out, and I think they can do it with a sequel. Um, Obviously, you can't do it with the dad figure because they're not paying attention. They're just thinking about hockey apparently, and
yeah, right.
that was probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie when he's just,
Mm.
oh she's angry. But yeah, I know. I think there's more you can explore with these characters. So, and my thing too, like, is if we explore Riley again, try to bring in the same actors if you can.
Yeah,
But
right.
if you want to go a different route, you can absolutely cast different voice actors because not everyone's emotions sound the same.
Yeah, sure.
But
Hey, especially if
Inside
you
Out
bring in,
it would be.
well, especially if you bring in, let's say you have Riley and she has a love interest and it's a male.
There
You
you
know
go.
what I
Yeah.
mean? And you could explore both brains, like
Oh,
bounce back
yeah.
and forth, and cast a whole new group of people, and have the guys maybe like sort of the relationship lovey-dovey emotion, and then like again a guy's like macho emotion or something like that,
Yeah.
and whatever, you know what I mean? You could play around with that, but like if you did that, you could still keep the same characters, have the same cast for Riley, but maybe cast a set of
There you go.
5
Yeah.
new people for if she has like a teenage, sort of high school love interest or something. You could do that, and there's an easy end for that.
Yeah,
So,
that's good. Pixar, I hope you're watching. Make it happen.
hey, I'm good at on the fly pitches. What can I say? So there you go, make it happen. I don't write scripts or anything, but if you need like a 10-second pitch, I think I'm your guy. So sort of a Shark Tank pitch. I'm your guy. So yeah. All right. Mine's sort of a comic adjacent movie, not quite a comic book, but more of a comic strip follow up. Everybody knows I love The Phantom with Billy Zane. And holy shit, is this movie right for a sequel, especially right now? Because, and I know the movie has a cult following at minimal at best, like I'm one of the bigger fans of this movie, just in general. But I mean, this movie has a following, and I'm not saying it needs to be a big $100 million movie, you know what I mean? But I think you could easily make like a $10 million Phantom sequel, that would do enough business. And the way the story is actually set up, I don't know if you've seen The Phantom, Jacob. I'm
I
totally
haven't.
okay. So, but the Phantom, the actual story is set up to where Billy Zane, in that he's following in a legacy of fathers and sons. So it's like, so the whole thing is that the Phantom is dubbed the ghost who walks because he's been around this jungle for several hundred years, and people think he's immortal, but even though he's just not, it's just the father passing it on to the son, and taking up the mantle of the Phantom, right? So you could easily do a follow-up now where Billy Zane, who real life is 25 years, 30 years later, is the father with a son passing it on to the son and being the older Phantom, passing it on to the son, and it's ripe for a sequel. And I met Billy Zane. I talked with him about it. He wants to do it. He loves that character. I talked with him at a convention about it. He wants to do a Phantom follow-up. He agrees it's like ripe for a thing. The problem is it'll probably just never happen. It's all wishful thinking. It's all just, dreams and hopes. But the way that the legacy of the character is set up, you could have him be this older Phantom passing it on to the younger son. You know what I mean? Like passing it on, and it would be right for a sequel. But I don't think it'll ever happen. It's just wishful thinking. But I would love to see a Phantom too. So that's just me.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, and it's not streaming anywhere at the moment.
Okay.
So hopefully soon it'll be on streaming, or I can find a copy of it and purchase it, because I am very much a physical media guy. I don't know.
Hey, I'm pretty sure I got the Blu-ray for like $10. It's not that expensive. You know what I mean? Like, why not? I love that movie. So, yeah.
My next pick, I'm going to stick with animated. I'm going to go to 2007. I'm going to go TMNT. Animated TMNT. I read that there were sequels in development, but I believe the rights were purchased by another company, and so those sequels were scrapped. But I thought the animated movie was pretty good. I just actually rewatched it today because I was like, I'm going to talk about it. I might as well watch it.
Is that the one with like Lawrence Fishburne and Patrick Stewart and stuff?
Lawrence Fishburne is the narrator.
Okay.
Patrick Stewart is the villain, and Chris Evans is Casey Jones.
Right.
Which I enjoyed Chris Evans as Casey Jones. I think it was a good voice performance. I thought the story was really cool about the legend of Yaddle. This portal was open, and every 3,000 years it's open. And Winters, the character played by Patrick Stewart, is immortal. And so he's trying to return the monsters, and you get the zany one-liners from Michelangelo like you do in the normal turtle movies. So that's fun. You get the back and forth between Raph and Leo like you do in the normal turtle movie. So that's also really cool. And I think the animation style was good. I think you could definitely improve upon it, especially now. I don't know if they'd want to do another TMNT animated movie, but I think absolutely there's an audience for turtles, and so I think you absolutely could. But I think 15 years later, I don't know if you're going to follow up this movie exactly, but I always thought this one should have gotten more. And I thought the fight between Leo and Raph in this movie was really good. Like, if this was a live action movie, that fight scene I feel like could have been great. So, yeah.
Well, apparently, with the Wikipedia has a whole thing about the planned sequels that just never happened. About TMNT 2 was supposed to be this like City at War storyline from the comics, straight to in a movie, and the third one would have had Shredder introducing the Technodrome, like in the cartoon series. From Dimension X, so they planned a trilogy, but I don't think the movie did like super well at the box office. That's probably why. Yeah. So, I guess it's so it made it made 95 million worldwide, but I'd have to see what the budget was. The budget was 34, so I mean technically it was successful, but maybe not as successful as they had kind of hoped. So maybe if it had made about 150 or so, maybe they would have rolled with it. But yeah, so, and they said those stories kind of just became the Michael Bay produced 2014 one. So they just moved in a different direction. And Seth Rogen's got a new one coming out next year, a new animated movie. So, yeah, but it's not a TMNT follow-up. It's just a whole new animated thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And this one is, if you would like to watch this one, anybody watch
on Netflix,
it is available on Netflix and HBO Max. It is on both.
Hey, okay.
Both streaming services. So.
All right.
And just one last note. I actually like that this movie didn't have Shredder because obviously we saw it in the 90s. It was nice to see like a different villain in this one. Just as a final side note.
So my next one is it was a horror movie that where they actually did kind of tease a follow up, but it just never happened. I'm a big fan of the 1988 Blob remake.
Mhm.
From there, and there was never a follow up, or there hasn't even been another remake. Which there was rumors for a long time that Rob Zombie was going to do a Blob movie in like the late 2000s, and that just never happened. And there's always kind of rumors that somebody's going to tool around with it. But in that movie, they tease that this crazy preacher guy that you see throughout the movie, this sort of apocalyptic preacher dude with this like these burns on his face. He gets burned at the end of the movie, and he's got all these scars and stuff. He's got a piece of the frozen blob that he scooped up from like this freezer. That's still like a little piece of blob, but obviously even from the little bit, it can grow into a giant, mega thing. But I feel like they've never explored the blob in like a big city, which I think would be a good idea. I know it's a
Huh.
cliche thing to like take the thing to the big city, instead of the suburbs or the country or whatever. But both the Blob movies, the original 58 and the 88 one, have both been in like a small town setting, but they've never done like a metropolitan kind of setup, with the blob. Like I would like to see a giant blob like devouring buildings. Like maybe that'd be the shit.
Hmm.
Like just completely, or just like taking down a whole subway car or something. I think that would be awesome. Like just see one just completely swallow like a bus or something. I don't know, just something big, like really go huge scale with it. But yeah, it's just never happened. But I mean, that one kind of teased a sequel, and we never got it. Like I said, we haven't even gotten like another proper remake or whatever. But yeah, I would like to see some more Blob stuff. I like the Blob. I'm a big fan of that
I
concept.
I have not seen it. The 88 one that you're talking about isn't available streaming, but the 58 one is available on
Mm.
HBO Max and everyone's free streaming service, Tubi.
Well, I have the Scream Factory Blob Blu-ray that I bought for
Ooh,
$24. So, which
nice.
originally there was an Umbrella Blu-ray for the longest time. This wasn't even available on Blu-ray, and then Scream Factory finally put it out like 2 years ago, and it was a great transfer and a ton of great material. So, yeah, but that's the best version to watch it. But yeah, I love the Blob. I love
Huh.
Blob stuff. It's really great.
Well, I'll stick with the horror theme, sort of.
Mm.
Um, this is definitely a horror comedy,
Yeah.
emphasis on the comedy. I would love to see a follow up to Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Sure, why not?
I would. Why not? I would just love to see these characters. Maybe they're back in the woods.
Mhm.
The whatever house they were working on is finally
Well, maybe
finished, and then you go
yeah,
back
they
and
got
do
a finished cabin.
renovations. Yeah,
Sure.
now they gotta go back and they gotta do renovations. And I'm not saying retread the first movie, but I think the first movie was so successful. Um, I don't know. I don't know what you would do. I just want to see Tucker and Dale again. It doesn't even need to be like a Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Maybe it's a Tucker and Dale versus whatever. Like maybe there's a neighbor now, and the neighbor's doing shady stuff,
Yeah.
and I don't know, something along those lines. Just I want to see the character of Tucker and Dale again, and
Mm.
I don't know how you'd explore it. But when we brought up this idea and I was looking at my shelf, I noticed the steelbook and I was like, has there ever been a follow up to that? I didn't look it up because I was pretty sure there's not. And if there was, I don't know about it. And I'm very disappointed in myself. I'm pretty sure there's not. Um, but just like the characters of Tucker and Dale, I want
Hey,
more of them because
I
Alan
would
Tudyk was
actually,
fantastic.
I would actually rather see a TV show just following them around, just doing stuff. Honestly, and you know what? Maybe just encountering, like you said, weird characters here and there. Maybe they go after. Maybe they're being in their cabin and being stalked by something. Maybe they think it's like a Sasquatch, but it's just like a dog or something.
They,
Like there's a misunderstanding. You know what I mean? Like, or
that
just
would
be,
be great, actually.
or they think it's like just some cuddly animal, but they think it's like some monster. Who it could be another misunderstanding thing. But I would actually like to see.
That cliche where the shadows like
Oh, the
10 times
shadow thing is
bigger
like
than it
20 feet
actually
high.
is.
Yeah. Yeah. And they get freaked out, or yeah, maybe it's just some guy walking his dog in the woods, or something. It's just like, and they think it's like some creature with like four arms or something, like who knows, just stuff like that. But yeah, I would actually rather see like a TV show of just like the day-to-day adventures of
Hmm,
Tucker and Dale, just like
that
in the
would be
woods
great.
and just hanging around or going into town and encountering different people and like maybe encountering horror-ish situations, but like, I know I just did a quick search. There was a Tucker and Dale Evil 2 script, but it was bad, so they turned it down and didn't want to do it. But they said the last thing they said was like 2 years ago is there was something in development to bring these characters back. I don't know what that is. They didn't really explain. They didn't really say what it was. But actually, I think like a Amazon Prime or a Shudder series or something would be kind of cool. Like
Tucker and Dale versus
the world.
or you just Tucker and Dale versus ...
versus life or something. I mean, who knows? Yeah.
Just something with these characters. I know when we did some sort of tier ranker, and this movie was an option, and I tried to get it in S tier.
I tried to also.
Love this movie. I think we must have agreed on this one. We tried, but I think everyone else kind of brought it down.
I think it was just the 2000s or 2010s comedy list, whatever it was. Yeah, we tried to, but there was more A votes than S votes, and it just didn't happen. But yeah,
it's okay. They can be wrong.
Yeah, that's all right. I'll stick with horror-ish movies. Every couple of years, people go up to Danny Boyle and go, "Why haven't we seen 28 Months Later yet?" And it's like, and it's just never. There's always like talks of it, oh, I'm going to do it eventually. And because, the end of 28 Weeks Later, they teased them going through the channel thing into Paris, and it's spreading again all over again, into Europe and stuff like that. 28 months later, man. Why it's a natural 28 days later, 28 weeks later. Come on, 28 months later. It's realistically only what 2.25 years. It's like the rage could still be going on and mutating in new forms or taking on new mutations, or maybe they turn people even crazier or do something different with them, or make them grow limbs. Like who knows? I got all kinds of ideas of what you could do with it, as far as it just being this crazy virus, spreading around. But 28 months later, man, again, another one where I would just like to see them go one more and make it a trilogy, because I think it's just natural for it. And just, we don't see a ton of horror trilogies. Like we see some, but most of the time it's like these franchises. But I like to just see it rounded out and do one final installment and have somebody do it. And I don't think it's going to happen because, again, they bring it up every couple of years. Somebody pulls aside Danny Boyle and he talks about it. Oh, we have ideas, yada yada yada. It just never happens. So I would just like to see something.
Yeah. Another one that I have not seen, but both of them are on HBO Max. So yes, I will be getting to them eventually.
And you know what? Again, props to HBO Max. They are the streaming service right now, in my opinion. I think they got the best selection of stuff. Just as far as like TV, movies. Old school stuff. Like they're the leader right now for me. They've overtaken Netflix as far as my interest. So HBO Max is killing it right now with their stuff because a lot of the ones I've mentioned are on there. So there you go.
Yeah. And they got a deal that with Warner Brothers. I mean, after a 45-day theater
they might get a deal with AEW. There's always talk for some wrestling on there too. Why not? Hey, why not? There you go.
All right. So I have one more.
I got two more. So do you want me to do one more and then we'll do a final one?
Yeah.
Okay, because I have two more. So one of the ones I'll mention is not a comic book movie, but it's a superhero movie, but it was a standalone property, an original movie, Sky High. I'm a big fan of. And I've always wanted to see a little more, again, exploration of this world that they set up in Sky High, with this high school, the superhero high school, and kind of the way it like sits above the clouds in the sky, and Commander and Jetstream are like real life superheroes. So like superheroes exist, but it's like, I just want to see maybe there's a Sky High college, some Sky College, like, or some academy, higher up learning, or maybe one of the original actors comes back and becomes a teacher, or I'd like to see what happened to Commander Jetstream's kid, Will Stronghold, as he becomes an adult, if he became like a superhero and all that kind of stuff, I mean, there's possibilities. I'd like to see more of this. I just want to see more of this world they set up. I think it's just a really unique, we don't get that many unique superhero properties that aren't attached to something, and this movie is so cool and so much fun, and I've gone back to it a lot, and I just want to see more of this established universe, in this movie, and just explore it some more. You can have a whole new class. Sky High, the new class. Go Saved by the Bell style. Sky High, the college years. Whatever you want to do. The next generation, whatever. Just more of this and more Bruce Campbell as Coach Sonic Boom or whatever, Coach Boomer. I'm down. So yeah.
I'm down too. Like it's one that I thought about, but ultimately didn't end up making the ones that I wanted to talk about. But I'm definitely on board. Like I totally agree with this. I tried not to go too superhero heavy. I already had like 4, so I'm like, let's see if I can spread it out a little bit. I didn't want it to be all superhero and animated. Because one that I was considering was Megamind, but I believe they're like trying to.
They're trying to make a sequel. I think I've heard rumors of a sequel of that to that one.
Yeah. So I'm on the Wikipedia page now, and it was announced that Peacock had ordered a CG animated series serving as a follow-up to the film titled Megamind's Guide to Defending Your City. As of March 26th, the cast and format have not been revealed. So there's a TV series, but I wouldn't mind a movie either. But if they're going to go...
I wouldn't mind a short form Sky High series, again, just exploring the ins and outs of the school. You could do all kinds of stuff with that. Just Sky High the series, on Disney Plus. Why not? And just like the teachers and the students and all, you could introduce a cast of characters and just follow them throughout their school years, and still have cameos from all the old school people, pop up. I mean, Kurt Russell's still around. Have Kurt Russell jump back in. Unfortunately, I know. Kelly Preston passed away, so Jetstream couldn't. But you could explore. You could have that character even have passed away in real life, maybe in some battle, and Commander could be like a widow, a really depressed. Maybe he quits being a superhero because of that, and he's follow up with that, and again have Will maybe be an adult, maybe he's a teacher at the school or something or whatever, and follow some new group of students. I mean, there's just so much to explore in that universe, and it's the movie itself is on Disney Plus. I would rather see a Disney Plus series of this rather than like 8 more Marvel series, to be honest, for me personally. Something more like this I'd be way more interested in. But yeah, that'd be my thing.
Yeah. And if they can bring back High School Musical in the series form after
why not?
10 years, they can do Sky High.
Yeah, do Sky High the series. Come on now, make it happen. Yeah,
it's great that you brought up Disney, because the one that I have is actually a Disney movie as well.
My final one is Disney adjacent. I'll explain in a minute.
And no, it is not an animated movie. It is a remake of an animated movie. But I think the remake of the live action remake of the Jungle Book was really good. That I would love to see them do a Jungle Book 2. Maybe with Mowgli, like I don't know how old he was. He was probably like 10 or something. But maybe Mowgli as a teenager. And just with these characters, I don't really have a pitch on the fly here.
Mowgli was older in that Robin Shou, the guy who was Liu Kang in Mortal Kombat, that one in '94. Like he was older in that movie. So I mean, you could do the older one. They've done versions of that because there's 100 Jungle Book movies because that property is public domain, so anybody can make a Jungle Book movie. You just can't have a direct sequel to something that already exists. But yeah, like. They've done older Mowgli, so like it's not out of the question. Like it's been done before.
So, yeah, and I thought you bring back the voice cast, bring them all back. Especially Christopher Walken as King Louis.
Yeah,
him singing that song, like I didn't know I needed that in my life until I watched that, and now I'm glad that exists. It's good. Bill Murray was great. I think was it Idris Elba as
Idris Elba was Bagheera.
Was he Shere Khan?
I think he was Shere Khan, and somebody else was Bagheera. I can't remember who Bagheera was, but
I can't.
Idris Elba was the villain, so he was definitely Shere Khan.
Shere Khan, yeah. Who was Bagheera? Yeah. Was it Ben Kingsley? Yeah, Ben Kingsley was Bagheera.
Ben Kingsley. Okay.
Yeah, Scarlett Johansson as Ka. I mean, bring them all back. Jon Favreau's. I'm looking at the cast now. I don't know. I was today's years old when I found this out. Giant Squirrel, Sam Raimi.
Oh, okay.
um, I just never thought of it.
Well, and didn't that movie? I'm looking at. Didn't that movie make like $1 billion? Like it made a lot
It
of
was
money, didn't it?
highly successful. Yeah,
Okay, so it had a $175 million budget and made just under $1 billion. It made $966 million. It was super successful. So it made tons of money. It made a boatload of cash. So like you'd think a follow up would be like ripe, you know what I mean? Just right there.
Yeah.
And
And
I don't know why.
it was
Yeah.
a big like critical success, 94% on Rotten Tomatoes. Like critics loved it. The audience, I mean, I loved it. It's my favorite of the remakes. So I know there's not really a high standard there, but it's my favorite. I'd love to see a follow up. Like you said, older Mowgli has been done and it can be done, and I think bring back the people involved in this one, and I think you have another near $1 billion movie.
There you go. Well, I teased that my 12th one was Disney adjacent, and it is because it has some Disney characters in it, but some not Disney characters in it. It's a Touchstone movie. Okay. Who Framed Roger Rabbit is a world that is incredibly well done in that movie of the live action people and the cartoons living together. Every time you watch that movie, you have so many questions about just how this world works, you know, and you just want to see more of how the day-to-day life goes. I have a pitch for it because I know Bob Hoskins dead, and I wouldn't set it in the same time period anyways because it's set in like the 40s and all that. I would set it in close to modern day and have some kind of pitch where Roger Rabbit and the other 2D animated characters, because they don't really die, they just kind of keep living. You know what I mean? They just live. Are out of the job because of CGI, and CGI animation has taken over the business, and there's no place left over for 2D animation. And 2D animation is like dead in the water. So all these characters are pretty much out of work. You know, they're struggling to, you know, live a normal life. They are shunned as almost second-class citizens compared to these new CGI creations. And you can even have like some of the real CGI. You could have like Toy Story characters in this movie. You could have like, Pixar, like have them like have Woody and Buzz like be real characters, you know, like filming movies like they do, like how the Roger Rabbit films cartoons within that movie, you know, like in the opening scene. Have them like film movies like that just in these CGI worlds, but they're created, and there's like Toontown has become like a desolate like ghost town of just nothing happening. It just because nobody lives there more, they've all moved on. I just think like there's something there as far as again, a time jump because you can't have the same cast because like a couple of them passed away. I mean, Christopher Lloyd's still alive, but he died in the movie. You know, Judge Doom's gone. But I just think there's something there as far as like bringing in the computer animation versus the 2D animation, and doing something like that being like outdated and not used anymore, and maybe there's something that happens that brings a revival of 2D or something like that. So I think there's something there, and again, exploring this world some more. I think there's something there.
Yeah, I'm on board. I didn't even consider this one. Like it just didn't. But now that you bring it up in your pitch, like this could work.
Yeah,
this could work. I mean, I would love to just see, you know, Baby Herman cartoons.
Well, here's the problem. The rights thing was like, that was almost like a one-time thing for that movie, as far as Disney and like Warner Brothers like working together on that movie, and the crazy contracts they had to hash out with all the screen time for the different characters had to be like almost exactly the same and all that. Just, I think in these days, you wouldn't get those studios to cooperate like that, you know, as far as, you know, like is having like some, you know, like Looney Tunes characters interacting again with like Pixar or Disney characters, you know, things like that. I don't think it would happen. But in my dream scenario, I would do something with that and literally have like Roger Rabbit and Betty Boop and Bugs Bunny and Porky and all them like having scenes and some interactions with like I said, like Toy Story characters or
Yeah.
or you know, Tangled characters, whatever for
Hmm.
the Disney princesses, that we didn't see, stuff like that. Just cool stuff.
No, I know it's not as big as Disney, but what if and obviously that would be a bigger draw, would be
Mhm.
Disney. DreamWorks?
Oh, sorry, I had to mute myself as I was coughing. Sorry about that. I was like, I started talking again. Well, maybe, because here's the thing: Spielberg produced that movie because Robert Zemeckis directed it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Spielberg owns DreamWorks. So, like, yeah, I don't know if something could be worked out. The magic of what that happened is Spielberg kind of helped usher that movie in, as far as like getting everybody to kind of get along with that movie and
Mm-hmm.
and cooperate with it. It's just I think it was almost kind of like a lightning in a bottle situation. I don't think it'll ever happen again, just
Right.
because the way things are, the rights issues for all this stuff, and who would get the profits from it, and who would get the merchandising, and it would just be a mess. It would be a nightmare that
Yeah.
that for whatever reason all the stars just kind of aligned in 87, 88, and just worked. But it's just so unique. And yeah, I mean, maybe I think Disney even owns the actual property of Roger Rabbit, because it's
It's
on
on
Disney
Disney
Plus,
Plus,
and it's
yeah.
like, yeah, and they have a Roger Rabbit ride at, like, Disneyland and stuff like
Mm.
that. And so I don't think you could do a thing with DreamWorks unless Spielberg was able to finagle it. But I mean, even that would be cool, seeing Roger Rabbit interact with Shrek, or like, or the dragon. What's it, the How
Yeah.
to Train Your Dragon, or where's Kung Fu Panda? You know what I mean? Like, like doing something like that, and having like them go on some adventure, or having to work together. There being a contentious thing where Shrek, makes fun of them because they're 2D, and you Roger Rabbit, you're a bunch of, just, yeah, you could do something with that. And I think that would be fun, just to see that kind of angle of animation and have them interacting. I mean, you could have seeing real life people interacting with like a Shrek or with a Kung Fu Panda. I think would be cool, because the way, again, that's how that world works. They walk off the
Mhm.
set and like interact with people. I think just that would be unique and a lot of fun. I just think there's another movie there somewhere. But like I said, I don't know if I don't think it'll ever happen.
Right.
But I don't have my hopes up. But I
Yeah.
think it'd be pretty freaking cool. you know, you know.
I'm on board with it, and if it ever happens, yes, please.
Yeah, right.
I'm there.
First
I
time
am
buy a
there.
ticket. Yeah.
I am there. So yeah, no, this was a fun topic.
Mm.
Movies we think deserve a sequel, and I'm looking at one more that I hope we get another installment in. I just recently purchased this one. Let's keep making them. They're just fun. Keep making them.
They're fun, but I don't
Jackass
want Johnny
5.
Knoxville to get any more concussions. So
No,
I
he
don't.
does. Yeah, he doesn't have to be involved in the stunts anymore. I think the new
Yeah.
people, let them take the brunt of
Mm.
the falls this time. Yeah, that
Yeah.
bull. Oh, that was scary. Like
Mm.
I stopped laughing. I was not laughing anymore.
Yeah.
Obviously, I knew he wasn't dead, but I actually said, "Did he die?" Like, wait, no, this is like real life. This isn't. This isn't like it's a stunt, but it's not like a
Yeah.
movie stunt. It's a real stunt.
Right.
Um,
Mm.
like, uh, but sorry, late night. It is 10 o'clock. It's even later for you.
It's 1 a.m. for me.
1 a.m. there. I've been sitting for nearly 4 hours. I got up to stretch my legs a little
Yeah.
bit. I did host a battleground match before this. I will just plug that real quick when that comes out.
Mm.
Watch it. It was the number one contenders match between Jay and Aaron Canole to face the champion, who I will not say who the champion is because that match just dropped
Yeah.
today as well.
Right.
So go and watch that. Both Austin and I are also involved in movie battlegrounds, so
We are. We
um,
are.
I
We sure
actually
are.
am. I actually am preparing for a match that will be recording soon.
Mm.
Within a couple weeks, I will be
Okay.
facing. I will be facing Jake Tato.
Oh, okay. You
The
got a
battle
chance
of
against
the
Jake.
the battle of the Owen whatever. Yeah, I feel like I feel like I come up with good arguments, and then the judges, like, I don't know, like if like the judges just don't don't go my way. Like I feel like
Yeah.
if it was any other judge, like who knows? It's always about the judges. Like no one judge is gonna like the judges don't
Yeah.
all judge the same way. So but I'm
Mm.
looking forward to it. So I've got the questions, so I will be preparing for that. Should be a good one.
All right. So
I know
what are we
you got.
doing? What are we doing next week? We got to talk about it.
Oh, we gotta talk about it. What are we doing next week?
Okay. So I had an idea. Since I've
Okay.
already sort of started it unintentionally with a few different movies. Since for another show I watched Finding Neverland, and for another show I watched Sweeney Todd, I'm already on my way with our Redux episode that we've been talking about from our years episode. I'm on our way. Do you think we should start pulling the trigger on that and go for it, or maybe it's time?
Yeah,
enough time.
It's been long enough.
Well, and you watched Tremors for the first time recently, right?
I watched Tremors for the first time.
So you're starting.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I
think we could definitely pull the trigger on that one.
Okay.
So
you want to give it a shot and see all the movies that you had to watch for me are all on streaming for free. There's not a better time right now. Literally.
And I actually own some of them.
Well, that's what I mean. You want to run? I got them written down right here. If you want to run them down one more time for anybody watching. So the ones you were going to watch that you had never seen, and again, we didn't talk much about it, so you can retouch on Tremors because we just lightly talked about it on one other episode. The Game from 1997, which is on Tubi if you need to watch it right now. So Speed, which you said you own the Blu-ray of, you just haven't cracked it yet. So. Yeah, there you go. But it's ready to go. Frailty, which is on HBO Max, so easy to watch. Hateful Eight, which is on Netflix. And now it might be that it might be that 4-part one unless you actually own it. So
I do own it.
I was gonna say the Blu-ray is actually only like $5 I've seen on Amazon. It's very cheap. So if you had to, $5. It was $5. And Greenland, the Gerard Butler movie, which is on HBO Max as well. So they're very easy to watch. And the ones I needed to watch for you, again, I've watched 2 of them. Finding Neverland, I watched for the Oscars episode, so I have watched that recently, so I can talk more about it. Sweeney Todd, which I obviously watched for the top 10 thing that we did, so we can talk more about that. And some of them were first watches, and some of them were ones I promised I would rewatch. So Almost Famous, which I'd never seen, but I have the Blu-ray sitting over there, ready to go. The Iron Giant, which I just haven't seen since it came out, and I said I would rewatch it, but I actually bought it on Vudu around the time we talked about it, so I have that ready to go to watch. Soul, which was one of them, that's obviously on Disney Plus now, which I didn't sit down and watch, but I heard good things. I think we had Hugo, which is on Hulu, which I haven't rewatched since the theaters, and you're high on that movie big time.
Yeah.
And I've been promising I'm going to rewatch Into the Spider-Verse, which I have not done yet. So that was the other one. So, so that's it. So I have 7. You have 6. Did we want to try to throw one of the ones from this episode on there just to round it out so it's even that we talked about?
Yeah, we could do that. How about we go Gremlins 2?
Gremlins 2, that'd be a fun discussion because I've seen Gremlins 2 about 8,000 times, so I can talk about that movie immediately. And again, it's on HBO Max, so it could be easier to watch. So very easy. So yeah, a couple movies to watch, but I mean, I figure even if it's one a day, leading up to it, that's really not that bad. Movie a day keeps the doctor away. So I tend to watch about a movie a day anyways. So I got a couple to watch, and I don't have to do a lot of prep for myself and Henry's episode this week because it's the View Askewniverse, and I'm very, very familiar with those movies. So I'm pretty set. Other than Mallrats, I just need to revisit, but that's literally all it is. So I just got to watch Mallrats, and everything else I could hit one a day and be ready to go. So I say we just pull the trigger on it. We've been talking about it for a while. That year's episode we talked about the ones we either haven't seen or, like I said, haven't seen in a long, long time and barely remember. So let's do it, and then it'll give us 7 movies apiece, and we can each just bounce back and forth and talk about all of them. So
that'll be fun.
Yeah, that'll be fun. And then we'll do another topic the week after that. So another original topic. But yeah, why not? We've been talking about it. Let's pull the trigger on and have a little fun.
Actually, the week after, we will not be doing an episode because I will be out of town.
Okay, so
But
well, there you go. Well, then we'll do this Redux episode, have a little fun, and then we'll talk about what we'll do the 2 weeks after. Whether it's some other thing, we'll watch something and talk about it, or just talk about another topic. So yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah.
Cool.
Tune into the channel on Tuesday because we will be starting my top 128 over on Tournament Fights. I have the bracket ready. I have it sent to Jordan. So if we don't start on time, it'll just be because Jordan's running late.
Jordan's running late from work. Yeah, I don't even close this week, so I'll be on time. I'll be ready to go at 9:00, or Eastern, and I'll be ready to
I'm
roll.
on time.
Yeah. So, and with the bracket ready to go, yeah, there should be no excuses this time unless he's just running late from work and he's the one behind. So, but all he's got to do is log on and do that. You're running the board. So there you go. Yeah. Well, so technically, are you running the board, or is he running it and you're just sending it to him?
I've sent him the link already.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay. So it's ready to go. He'll still be running it.
He'll still be running it. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, but yeah, no.
All right.
And just to kind of tease the episode, I've seen some of the matchups for the first round. Some of them are tough. Okay. So some of them could be considered finals matchups.
Well, and I'm putting together my 128. I have my top 100 that I've had ready to go for a while, but I've got to add 28 movies to it, obviously. But that's not that hard to do. Just other movies that I just love. So that's never tough for me. I just go over to my movie collection and browse around and see what's not on the list yet that I've seen 100 times and just add to it. So there you go. But yeah, like I said, just anything coming up. We got that coming up on Tuesday. Like I said, Let's Rank stuff with me and Henry. We'll be doing the View-esque universe of Kevin Smith movies. We can't do the whole filmography because Red State is insanely unavailable anywhere for whatever reason. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's not on streaming anywhere. It's not available for rent. It's not on DVD. Well, it's on DVD and Blu-ray, but the copies, it's like out of print. It goes for like $40 or $50 on eBay. It's just not worth. Like, I saw it in the theater, but I haven't seen it since then. But yeah, it's just, so instead we're just going to do the View-esque universe movies, the 7 movies in that View-esque universe thing. So we're just doing that, and so that'll be fun. And then Thursday night, Lonely Marks, we're doing a wrestling draft. That'll be fun.
We're doing a wrestling draft. We will be drafting 30. There will be 30 slots. 25 of those will be wrestlers or tag teams. It's up to us how many tag teams we draft and how many female wrestlers, how many male wrestlers we draft. The last 5 slots, we will have 2 commentators and then 3 sort of on-air personnel. So that could be 2 managers, and
2 managers and 3
personnel.
Media personalities, so commentators or backstage interviewers or whatever have you. And then
like it's up to us. So like if we want a Joey Styles 1-man commentary booth, we can do that. So we're kind of, I think we're working on our big boards, as they say in the drafting world, the big boards, because 30 each, that's 120 people. So
but it's all of wrestling ever. So there's a lot of choices. So it's not like there's a limit on choices. I mean, it literally could be anything, anywhere, anytime. It could be anything. It could get wild. The picks could be all over the place. It could get interesting.
Pretty sure 120 is the size of the AEW roster right now anyway.
Right.
So that'll be fun. And the following week we will be putting cards together with the rosters we draft.
With the roster. Yes, that'll be fun.
So it'll be fun. And we've been discussing other topics for that too. So I'm looking forward to where the Lonely Marks is going. I think we've got a good thing going there.
We're having fun. We're having fun. I won't always be on that show, but when it's something like that or some retro thing, if y'all are talking current events, I'll let you guys talk current events, unless I happen to like watch the next AEW pay-per-view or something, that I can join in and talk about it, which I've enjoyed some of those, so I might. But yeah, if it's current events, I'll let you guys do your thing. But I've enjoyed talking the retro stuff and some of these fantasy things like that. It's fun. So yeah.
And the last thing I will plug for myself actually is Monday night Combat Wrestling Trivia, the YouTube channel. They go live. They're back, and I'm doing a match. So Monday we will be going live, I believe, at 11:30 8:30 Eastern. It's either 11 or 11:30 Eastern, which is only 8 or 8:30 for me. So I can still go to bed on time. But
Is
yeah,
it
no,
like general wrestling trivia, or is there specific topics or specific times, or what?
It's general movie trivia. So the first round is general, but then the second round we each give a strength. So they're based on those, and then the following round of that it's called the battle zone. So it's one question with 10 answers, and we each go back and forth, giving 5 a point apiece. And then the first one, he actually has 11 categories. We each give a number. We each give 3 numbers, and we get the categories based on that.
Is it anything like Battle Dome? Remember, that was kind of like wrestling with wrestling personalities meets American Gladiators. Remember that?
It sounds familiar, but I'd have to look it up. But it does sound.
They did a crossover for 2 weeks with WCW on Nitro, and they invaded. Anybody remember that? No, I'm the only one who remembers that. And Terry Crews was one of the Battle Dome participants. T Money.
Speaking of wrestling, since we're speaking of sequels today, I'm ready for Ready to Rumble 2. Like I think
ready to
Rumble, which will be a lot better than Coming to America.
Right. So there you go. It's built right into the title.
Yeah, that's what we got going on. So watch all of that. Support those channels as well. Support us, please. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell, because we don't always go live at the same time. So if you want to know when we're going live, that's the best way to do it. So hope you guys have enjoyed this. If there anybody watched it live, or if you watched on the replay, we just have fun having these kinds of conversations, and we hope you guys enjoy listening to them.
Yeah.
So I did it right the first time.
Ooh, yeah. I can never get that right. I'm like, oh, see, I can't do it right. I never can. Because see, I'm always pointing at the screen that I'm looking at, and you're over there and not over. Yeah, I can never get that right. It's like how you never plug in the USB thing right the first time. You're always upside down. You always grab the garbage bag by the wrong end the first time. It's the same thing. I can't ever get the point correct. Yeah.
So that is
there you
Austin. Go. I am Jacob. This has been a podcast about movies. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.